Good Americans at their best, man. This is great to see. And now since, we have a lot of organizations that came out initially to help, but now that we're, this is several months in, people, I will say, have forgotten about Hurricane Helene and what it's done to Western North Carolina. But I will say that the help has not been as great as of lately as I would hope. I would have hoped. It's just kind of like, oh, well, we helped you out in the beginning, and you do have to get back to some sort of norm. So we have, still boots on the ground out there because we have a leadership building there. We have our headquarters there. But as far as off-road outreach, we just have a few volunteers that are up there weekly that are kind of coming from different, Georgia.
Americans are capable of achieving extraordinary things when they have the freedom and opportunity to do so. This is American Potential.
Welcome to the American Potential Podcast. I'm the host, David Fromm. Last September, Hurricane Helene barreled through Western North Carolina, wiping out some communities, displacing families, and causing neighbors to lean on one another like never before. Helene wasn't just a storm, it was a test of resilience for the people of Western North Carolina and the other southern states that were impacted by the hurricane. Helene left homes flooded, uprooted countless trees, took out multiple bridges, and damaged infrastructure in general. But as always, in the face of destruction, neighbors came together to share information about who needed help, what they needed, and then were able to get supplies to them even with the challenge of not having roads. Churches, nonprofits, and individuals stepped in to help with this effort. One nonprofit that focuses on serving homeless veterans was there to help on day one. Today, we're going to hear from the president of that nonprofit. I want to welcome Stacey Buckner, president of Off-Road Outreach. Stacey, welcome.
Hey, thank you so much, my friend. It's great to be here. Love the podcast. So good to be invited as a guest.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, we're happy to hear that. Hey, sometimes you might know, we like to start off with a fun question. I heard a rumor that you like to jump out of planes for fun.
I do. So I like to go skydiving with the All Veterans Group parachute team. That's out of Rayford, North Carolina. It's a bunch of veterans jumping out of perfectly good airplanes. 14,000 feet. It's one of my favorite things to do. It lets me know that I'm still alive.
How long have you been doing it?
So since 2015.
Oh, yeah, that's great. I'm envious. I think that'd be super, super fun.
And
I think that's fabulous. Well, so I want to talk about off-road outreach and, what you guys are doing in your community and have been for years, and then turn to when the hurricane hit and how that's unfolded. So talk to me a little bit about off-road outreach and how you all help veterans.
Yeah. So Off-Road Outreach was founded in 2015. I was at that time working at the Fayetteville VA Medical Center, and I just saw a gap in services for our unhoused and at-risk veterans. So I created my own nonprofit to kind of fill in those gaps for services. And it's just organically grown into a really great veteran service organization. I certainly don't do it alone, but we have a Veggies for Vets program. We have a suicide prevention program with peer support. And of course, we have our homeless veterans outreach program. And we offer mobile showers, mobile laundry, just things to kind of start the conversation and give them a hand up.
So if I hear you right, you were already working with veterans. So obviously you probably have a heart for veterans, but you saw a gap and
I did.
Decided, as an individual, you decided to go fill that gap. And I think that's what heroes in America do, I suppose.
Oh, I don't know about it. Well, I think the heroes are the ones that I'm serving, certainly not myself.
Sure.
But yeah, the VA is a great organization. They have a lot of people that care about vets that work for them, but there's just a lot of red tape. And so I'm still serving vets in my capacity today, not just with my own nonprofit, Off-Road Outreach, but also with Veterans Services of the Carolinas. So we are a ministry under Asheville Buncombe Christian Community Ministries. So I get to do it in my professional life and in my spare time.
Yeah. Well, what made you drawn to helping veterans?
So my dad is a veteran. And honestly, so I had a traumatic brain injury back in 2008. And it really, it was hard. It was very, very hard to find work after being in rehabilitation for a year, trying to learn how to walk, talk, breathe again on my own. And so this company just took a chance on me and got a job at the Fayetteville VA hospital, and started out as an operator and just kind of progressed from there. And, serving, I think everyone who wants to live a life of service above self, like me, I think serving veterans is definitely the way to go. So just inspired by my job and my own personal experience as my father being a vet, and also have a son who's a veteran.
Wow. So talk to me a little bit about, what are some of the stories that you've run into of veterans that have served and who you've been able to help?
Well, what I've noticed is most of the vets that we serve on the street or who are at risk of becoming homeless, they have an other than honorable discharge. A lot of them are not being able to receive services. They're not eligible for services at the VA. So, the VA is not necessarily your first go-to when you have an other than honorable. But as the VA has changed and new laws have been created, we've been able to get services for vets that do have an other than honorable discharge, like mental health. We do see a lot of veterans who have co-occurring things going on, with substance use, opioid use disorder, also mental health. And then some of them are really just, one traumatic thing happened and it just snowballed into a big deal. And they just can't get a hand up, man. They just can't get above water. So we like to give them that little bit of a life preserver to help them get back on their feet. And then they're good. They're never homeless again. We have people who are chronically homeless, but we have those that are just experiencing homelessness for the first time. Maybe they got sick and missed a paycheck. And, that's how we're living now as Americans, unfortunately, paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah,
that's for sure. It's impacting everybody. But I think about our veterans. Do you run into a lot of folks who, through their service to our country, have run into really traumatic, or really, have lived through and experienced really traumatic events, and that causes a deterioration in
Yes.
maybe mental health and puts them in this really difficult situation? Is that something that you've seen a lot?
Yes, I 100%. We serve veterans who, suffer from PTSD, and then, they just don't have the proper mental health services available to them. So we try to get them connected to those services and really get them engaged in just being a productive part of society. Because once you go down that mental health road with PTSD, it's hard to come back when you're severely depressed and you don't want to take medication. And, it's just a snowball effect. Yeah, but we do run into that daily, especially suicide. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I just personally knowing a number of veterans, the number of colleagues or former, brothers in arms they've had who have taken their own lives is just unbelievably tragic. It's such a terrible epidemic. And, it's so heartbreaking.
It is. But that's why I'm glad that we have folks like our organization in Veteran Services of the Carolinas. We really do more than just the mental health piece. We do, wraparound services. I think that's equally important. Not just finding the right services, but having those wraparound services. And that's so cliche to say, people talk about wraparound services, but we are invested in the veteran, as a whole, not just their, what impacts them to be homeless. We want to help you get employment. We want to teach you financial stability. We just don't stop there. So,
what's a typical person that you interact with and help? Like what does their life look like? Or is it really varied?
well, it's really hard to go out to encampments and that this veteran has served your country, and to see them sleeping in a tent on the ground under a bridge, in the rain, in the mud, and just despair, just total despair. And just talking to them, getting to know them, getting to know their story, really builds that trust. And even if they don't, or if they're not ready for help, we still meet them where they're at in their journey. So that's what it looks like on a daily basis.
So let's talk about the day that the hurricane hit, Hurricane Helene. What was that like?
Well, honestly, we didn't expect it. I know you've probably heard that. We have a headquarters based in Asheville for Veteran Services of the Carolinas. Their servant leadership building is there. So off-road outreach and veteran services of the Carolinas were boots on the ground the day after the hurricane. And just to see that amount of destruction, they don't have the infrastructure there in those hills and hollers, to sustain this flooding. And I mean, you don't expect to get flooded in the mountains, and that was
Right.
really what caused the most devastation.
Did you see, since you're working with homeless veterans most often, I would imagine they're particularly vulnerable. Did you see that? Were they particularly impacted?
Yes. And unfortunately, because of Helene, we now have even more homeless vets in that area. And, one of the places that was destroyed was just totally decimated was the Veteran Services of the Carolinas Veterans Restoration Quarters. That was already housing about 250 veterans that were experiencing homelessness. So that was where they were living. And I mean, we had probably 13 feet of water go through there and
Wow.
totally wipe that out. So it is, down to bare bones. I mean, it was completely destroyed. Thanks to Team Rubicon, they came out and helped us gut and, muck out those places. And so now we have not just the veterans that were displaced because of that, but we have new veterans being added to our caseload because they don't have homes now. So I mean, we experienced it on both ends. Those already experiencing homelessness and those who are new to being homeless. And it's just devastating, man. It's just devastating. And they can't seem to catch a break up there. We just got hit with a snowstorm up there and people are still unhoused,
Yeah, I mean, it's like I'm sure there had to be a real degree of frustration, to put it mildly, because you're trying to help solve this problem of veteran homelessness or help people or address it however you can, and then a massive natural disaster comes in and just sets you all the way back, gives you more homeless people to deal with and to try to serve. And my gosh, I give you all the credit in the world for just pick yourselves back up and keep going at it.
Again, I want to say that we didn't do this alone. It was amazing to see the community come together immediately. I mean, there was, the day after the storm, everyone needed gas. There was no gas. There was a gas shortage for a very, very long time. But to see that camaraderie, even amongst civilians and just wanting to help out, it was amazing. It made me feel really good to be an American, really did, to see that. It reminded me a lot of after 9/11, everyone just coming together, It's really great to see.
So going back to the day that when the hurricane hit, when did it really register to you about how bad it really was?
So we've been boots on the ground, still deployed out there since September 28th. So that day after seeing complete destruction and knowing that I was riding past folks who were deceased in this massive amount of, these big flood piles of debris. It really just took a toll on me. just initially seeing that. And then you just kick into, well, I got to go mode. I got to do this. And you just immediately are like, how can we start helping immediately? And it started with our own employees. I drove all the way from Fayetteville the day after the storm with possibly a rolling IED. We had a massive amount of gas that we were pulling in a trailer up there. And, it probably wasn't safe, but we needed to get gas up there to our own employees so they could come in and serve the vets that we needed to help. So it started with that. It started with our own employees, and we were the hub. We had a 50,000 square foot warehouse up there that was not being used. We had just moved into a new building. So getting that up and running as like a natural disaster relief, hurricane relief hub. Wow, it was incredible to see that come together.
Wow.
Yeah.
And were other organizations kind of coming alongside you and using your facility?
Yes. They were, donating items. They were getting the word out to bring supplies to us. We had to, buy forklifts, pallets, box trucks, all of the things that you would need to operate a warehouse. And we had that thing up and running like a well-oiled machine in like 3 days.
Well, I'll leave it to a whole bunch of veterans, I'm sure, people associated with veterans to make that happen.
Yeah, the logistics, it all came together. It was like, this was a mission. So it was good to see.
Yeah. And I know there's been some criticism of the federal government, and I'm not wanting to go down that road really about that, but it seems like this was such an example of local people, and whether it be charities or businesses or, just people coming together to bond together to help the people in their community. It was kind of remarkable, really. To see what's and it's, I'm sure, still happening.
It's still happening.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit like what you saw of people just picking up and coming together, kind of like you just talked about in your large facility?
Yeah. Immediately the word got out that we had this hub. So we had people driving, horse trailers all the way from Alabama, just packed with supplies. And it was just so many different vehicles. It was just like your next door neighbor who may have a small utility trailer, just, bringing up supplies. But what's that initial shock of, to the ecosystem there? That initial shock, we tried to discourage people from coming up there and using the small amount of resources that were there. Everyone wanted to help, but we couldn't say, hey, yes, bring us everything, because we didn't have the resources to sustain it. So seeing people come from all over the United States in whatever capacity that they had to carry stuff was incredible. It was just good Americans at their best, man. It was just great to see. And now since, we have a lot of organizations that came out initially to help, but now that we're, this is several months in, people, I will say, have forgotten about Hurricane Helene and what it's done to Western North Carolina. But I will say that the help has not been as great as of lately as I would hope. I would have hoped. It's just kind of like, oh, well, we helped you out in the beginning. And, you do have to get back to some sort of norm. So we have, still boots on the ground out there because we have a leadership building there. We have our headquarters there. But as far as off-road outreach, we just have a few volunteers that are up there weekly that are kind of coming from different, Georgia, South Carolina, Virginia, and we're kind of rotating. But that's starting to dwindle down as well. People can't, get time off of work and, all of that. So we still need volunteers, guys. Still need volunteers.
Yeah. Well, what do you all need, or what do people generally need the most right now? And what do you specifically need with off-road outreach?
So we have a list on our website of things that are needed. We're, taking propane tanks and propane bottles, blankets, anything that you would need to survive, in the winter outside. And we do have a lot of folks that have gotten into some tiny homes and campers and that sort of thing. But we still want to be able to supply those people with, I mean, they lost everything, and so not just the people that are outside, but those who are newly moved into tiny homes or campers, want to make sure that we're sustaining them with supplies too. Because you got to think about this. The ecosystem was disrupted. We have gas stations and hotels and grocery stores that were destroyed that need to be rebuilt. So sustainability is key.
Well, that's the incredible thing to me, and you've helped me focus a little more on it in my mind is, it wasn't just like, oh, hey, this was amazing tragedy and it was very disruptive. All the things that you would go and rely upon to try to bring back normalcy are also gone and disrupted.
Yeah.
And so now you need to bring that all in and rebuild it. And that is just seems like such a monumental task.
It is. It seems that way, but we're slowly getting those resources back into the supply chain. But seeing this community build as fast as they have, wow. Just the amount of people willing to go out and sling a hammer, and it's so wonderful to see that. And again, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole here with the government, but we relied on neighbors to help us with these missions in the beginning. And now that the federal government is in, we're still filling in those gaps where they haven't been able to help. So we're still out there.
Before we go too far,
yeah,
why don't you just tell our listeners what your website is in case they want to get involved with y'all?
So it's www.offroadoutreach.org. And then also we have a list on www.abccm.org. And yeah, you can go on there and you can donate. You can do in-kind donations for, we have an Amazon wish list, all of those things. So we still need that support.
That's great. Well, and if anybody missed that, you can always just go backwards in the podcast and listen to it again. So, but we really encourage everybody. We have a lot of wonderful Americans listening to this who I know want to make a difference. So hopefully they can do their part too.
Yeah.
I am encouraged that you've seen neighbors joining one another and helping to rebuild. I don't know, maybe those of us who haven't been there and haven't been as involved. What are some maybe examples of encouragement, things that we could take away that provide the encouragement that this is going to get to a better place? Maybe more importantly, provides the people who are the victims the encouragement.
Yeah. Donating is going to be key. We need funding. We need funding to help build our Veterans Restoration Quarters there. First Lady Biden did come down and tour that area. Also, Governor Stein came down and toured that, and President Trump was just there as well. We're talking about how to get more funding, and it looks like we're going to get some help. Looks like we're going to get some help from the government. Looks like we're going to get more help than we anticipated. But donating is going to be key. This is not a sprint; it's a marathon, and this is going to take years and years to rebuild. These folks were not prepared for this amount of flooding. I don't think you could ever prepare, but based on what we were going to get, we did not prepare for that. We did not prepare. It was a lot worse than we had expected, with the rain coming down the mountain, flooding. And then once it goes, it's floods down. And then if you didn't get hit the first time, you got hit that second time of that debris coming back. So yeah, we need a lot of help still. Again, it's going to be years. So if I could give some encouraging words, I would say that those are the encouraging words. I would say that if you can get out and volunteer, that's priceless. We need hands-on out there now that we've gotten, gas and groceries and stuff like that. So we can sustain the volunteers. But if you have any free time to come out and just help us get this monumental task completed, we would be greatly appreciative of that. So know that we are there, and we are rebuilding. We're in the rebuilding phase now. So those encouraging words of just, we are rebuilding, know that we're going to be there to help you. So thank you.
Well, I mean, clearly you're living a life of service, and that's what great Americans do. I'm really interested in your recent journey, because here, you've past 10 years you've been involved in this nonprofit where you're helping the men and women who served our nation and are suffering. I mean, that's so noble, and what a wonderful use of someone's talent and time. And
Thank
then beyond that,
much.
Sure. I mean, that's undoubtable. But then on top of that, you're in the midst of this calamity that happens, this natural disaster that nobody thought would happen, and helping these communities dig out from that and recover and tackle all the problems and challenges. And that's, probably be for years to come. I just think, do you, I'm sure this has been enormously difficult, but how does it make you feel, like, on the inside as you go through all this?
And I feel great. I feel great. You almost get like, you don't do this type of work because it makes you rich, but it certainly makes you rich in spirit. And to know that this is one way that I can serve those who have served for me, for our country. You almost get like a kind of a high off of it, like just knowing that you are potentially saving someone's life just by serving them through charity work, and again, that living the life of service above self, that's our highest and best use as human beings. There's nothing else that we could. I mean, that's why we're here. That's what we're here to do. That's what we're built for.
That's what we're called to do, love our brother as ourselves.
That's right. That's right.
Well, Stacey, I mean, you're a real inspiration. And I wish you and Off-Road Outreach all the best. I hope that our listeners go to your website. Say the website again for everybody's benefit.
So it's www.offroadoutreach.org. And you can also, if you know a veteran in need, even though we are just local to North Carolina, to Fayetteville and the 5 surrounding counties, we do use the NC Serves platform. So any veteran from anywhere, we can connect you to resources. That's
great. What a wonderful cause. Well, Stacey, like I said, you're inspiring to me. I'm a better person for having talked to you today, and I greatly appreciate it. And I think all of our listeners will feel the same way. Yeah. Of course, you have the necessary amount of humility, but it's true.
Thank you very much. And I will just like to say that I was named a CNN hero in 2023. I made it all the way to the top 10. And that door has really opened up. Just going through that door with the rest of those 9, quote unquote heroes who are living a life of service, getting to know them, it's opened up a door that I can serve veterans across the U.S. And I can't be more thankful than where I'm at right now in life to be able to use that platform. And also American Potential to spread not just God's love, but to hopefully inspire folks to get out there and do more for your country.
That's fabulous. Stacey, thank you so much for being our guest. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate you too. Thank you so much.
Thanks. The areas that were devastated by Hurricane Helene will take years to recover. But as we've seen, it's been individuals and organizations like Stacey's who have stepped up to help their neighbors continue to do so. President Trump made a stop recently to Asheville, North Carolina, and stated that he's going to make sure the area gets what they need to help recover. Hopefully, those that are living out of their cars or tents will be able to get the shelter they need. Well, friends, remember, liberty and freedom are easily taken for granted. Don't take it for granted. Go out there and defend liberty and freedom. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for listening to American Potential. You may listen to more stories from Americans working every day to expand freedom and opportunity in their communities by visiting AmericanPotential.com.